What up and what it do, homeboys and homegirls? We out here talking hoops today and every day, because that's what I'm about. Today, I want to talk about one of the former UConn Huskies that I'm a big fan of. I'm a fan of all UConn Huskies, but I want to talk specifically about my guy, Jordan Hawkins, who was the 14th pick, aka the last pick of the lottery in the 2023 NBA draft. Straight out of UConn, and he has had an incredible jump these past couple of games that he's played early on in the season. So, if you guys remember, Jordan Hawkins played in 67 games last year for the Pelicans, only started a handful, started 10 games, and averaged 7.8 points per game for the season. And this season, through 8 games, he has averaged 16.3 points per game on a better shooting percentage, 40.8% from the field, 36.5% from three-point range, which is basically identical to what he shot from three-point range last season, and is also shooting an astonishing 93.1% from the free throw line. Also grabbing 4.5 rebounds a game, 1.4 assists per game, and has only turned the ball over 1.6 times per game. So he's up from 17.3 minutes per game last season to playing an average of 30.3 minutes per game this season. So I would put him in that most improved player of the year award running, but I think he falls a little bit short compared to Bilal Coulibaly and that boy Grady Dick out of Toronto, who are just having a little bit better seasons and are probably a little bit more suited, or I should say, a little bit more well-suited to sustain that improvement in the stat sheet for the length of the season. Because obviously the Toronto Raptors are not very good. They are not trying to be very good. And the Wizards are also not very good, and they are not necessarily trying to be very good. So the Pelicans, on the other hand, have just had a slew of injuries. Obviously, DeJounte Murray has been out with a hand fracture. Zion Williamson was announced going to be out indefinitely with a hamstring strain. CJ McCollum is also now out for a little while. So they're running thin. They're running very thin. I wouldn't be surprised if they got to pick some guys out of the G League to start playing for them, because they're running out of guys quickly. They're kind of in a similar situation to what the Memphis Grizzlies had to deal with last season. Just, a historic amount of players being on their roster throughout the regular season. So I'm not sure if it's going to come to that point yet, but it's gonna be interesting. I mean, Jordan Hawkins, I think, is also going to be out now for at least another week or so with an injury. I'm not exactly sure what his injury is, but they can't catch a break over there in New Orleans. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I am very excited about Jordan Hawkins' improvement in production, because I was pretty high on this guy coming out of the draft. I thought he was going to be a good player in the league. I didn't really see that much in his rookie season, and I was kind of like, I don't know what's going to happen, especially when a rookie comes in and they don't shoot above 40% and they play, 60 plus games in a season. It becomes a little tricky, because if you consistently shoot below 40% in the NBA, it's going to be incredibly difficult for you to maintain a spot. You have to shoot at least like 41% to really stick around in the league. And that's considering that you also have other skills that are probably more important to teams than your scoring. But there's been a ton of volume shooters throughout the years. I mean, New Orleans drafted Austin Rivers, 12 years ago now, and he was, frankly, a pretty volume shooter for the majority of his career, but still had a decent NBA career. But he didn't have a super, upward trajectory. He averaged double digits, I think, for a couple years when he was with the Clippers, but after that kind of went back down to, handful of points per game, maybe 7-8 points per game at his maximum. So I really need Jordan Hawkins to kind of develop some of his other skills a little bit more. You know, if he could become a better defender, can become a better rebounder, you know, because a good rebounding guard is a very, very useful thing to have in today's NBA, especially because those guys have more of an ability to crash the paint, because compared to your centers and your power forwards and other bigs, your guards don't have to be back to protect the paint as much. You know, in some situations, obviously, yeah, if it's a fast break, whoever's closest to the basket's got to get back there and defend that. But, you know, besides that, you know, he kind of has a little bit more free reign to crash the boards, especially on the offensive end, and, you know, get some easy rebounds, you know, rack up some points for everybody that's got him on his fantasy team, or on their fantasy team, I should say. So Jordan Hawkins, man, has been impressive. So, and I think he's kind of flying under the radar because, you know, people aren't really paying attention to the Pelicans right now, besides just the amount of injuries that they've had. So they're not doing great. They're certainly out of the playoff picture right now, and it's looking like they're going to stay there if these injuries keep piling up. So I'm excited, though. I think Jordan's going to be a good player. He's got a lot of potential, and he's young. He's only 22 years old, so we'll be 23 basically by the time the regular season wraps up, you know, late April. So let me know what you guys think. If you're a Pelicans fan, let me know what you think about Jordan Hawkins. You think he's going to be a star on your team in the future? Want to hear from you guys. Want to know what everybody's thinking now that we're well into the NBA season. You know, teams have, you know, anywhere from 7 to 11 or 12 games under their belt at this point. So we're going to continue to, you know, keep playing games, and teams are going to start looking a little bit more like themselves as we get, you know, 20, 30, 40 games into the season. So it's going to be interesting to see how things kind of shape out and what the playoff picture starts to look like. I still think it's a little too early to be making really bold predictions to stand on, but, you know, we'll see what happens. So let me know what you guys think. You know, if you like this video, as always, give me a like. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. If you did not like the video, give me a dislike and let me know how you really feel. I want to know. But without further ado, I'll catch you guys with the next one. Stay safe. Watch some basketball. Yip, yap, yada do. Peace.